Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Week 6 here in the Midwest F1 League as the league makes its return to the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps here in Belgium. 19 corners make up this 7-kilometer circuit. It's one of the longest circuits on the schedule, with 9 to the right and 10 to the left. 2 DRS zones here going into La Source and down the Kemmel Straight. But the biggest challenge being keeping a clean race through the high speeds and tricky corners. The 3 big action zones are heading into La Source, where there is sure to be carnage on lap 1 and probably throughout the rest of the race. Secondly, being the Kemmel Straight, where a lot of the overtakes will be happening, as that is the probably the best DRS section on the track for overtaking, not necessarily going into La Source, but going into Lacombe. And then finally being the tricky chicane, where the transition from high speeds to heavy braking are sure to leave some out to dry, and that is, if you don't get that braking zone correctly, not only will carnage happen for the competitors around you, but your race will also probably take quite a hefty toll. So kind of big news out of the McLaren garage this week. Domingos has stepped down to Division 3, which to the best of my knowledge was entirely his decision. That's kind of what he wanted to do. So you know what, that's perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with that. As long as he's happy, that's the main thing. And he's going to be he's going to be replaced by Chief Braids. However, Chief Braids has been called up to Division 1 for the evening. His replacement is J-Stee, so should be interesting to watch there. I'm going to warn all of you now. I fully believe that my French in some of these corner names are going to be absolutely done in by my inability to do just that. So, if I sound like a complete bum trying to say some of these corner names, I'm going to apologize in advance, because I've only had about 15-20 minutes to try to even remotely come close to saying these. According to Grumpy Old Catman, who's in this race as well in the Alfa Romeo, it's only going to be light clouds for both rain and qualifying. So for both race and qualifying, I don't expect to see any rain out on track, which is kind of a disappointment, because that's one of the best parts about coming to Spa, is that you get that potential mixture for both, rain and dry, as we had in the F2 race yesterday. It started rain qualifying, rain beginning to the race, and then about halfway through a transition to dry. So sometimes that can be very exciting to watch that transition happen. Unfortunately, we're not going to get it here today, but I do expect the same amount of carnage nonetheless. In fact, more. I think we only had one safety car over both the feature and sprint races yesterday, despite being in the rain and despite being at Spa. So I tell you what, we are in for probably another really, really good race. The field is still, I don't want to say it's still spread out between the two at the top, being Benz Rice and Will Ans. I fully believe that still anyone in this field can win, and I believe one of those guys is Capitano, who last week came second only to his teammate Will Ans. The AlphaTauri 1-2 that week, and I tell you what, El Capitano starting on the medium tires, that's going to be an interesting choice. However, he's not alone in that as well. Ray 46 has fit the mediums, Forza Juve's fit the mediums, J-Stee's fit the mediums, and Pork Chops has fit the mediums along with El Capitano. Capitano is one of those people that, I believe can make an impression on this week, but here we go. This is the unofficial track guide going into La Source. This is going to be a very, very tricky corner on this start. Definitely want to have the inside line as to not get into trouble with anybody else. That is going to be a very, very tight corner, one action-packed for sure. And then into Eau Rouge, and that's Radion, actually. Pretty straightforward here. You want to keep this kind of the inside of going up the hill, as to keep the best line and to not spin your tires, if that is possible. Down the Kemmel Straight, pretty straightforward here, pun intended, into Lacombe. This is going to be a very tricky corner, especially if we see side-by-side racing. It's going to be very, very difficult, as J-Stee's already gone off into Malmedy, which be looking out for track limits there. Now Brussels, this is going to be the corner. It's a very, very tight line in between acceleration and braking all the way through the corner into the no-name corner. Again, another place for track limits, and then down into Pouhon. If you brake early here, you should be able to take the rest of the corner flat out and not invalidate track limits. Yet another place where track limits could be a problem. Into Lafang, I hope I'm saying that correctly. Nothing too clinical about this, however, on exit could be tricky as well. Into Campus and Stavelot. Now, Campus isn't going to be the tricky one, but the exit to Stavelot you could take nearly flat out, though if you get too wide, you have that wall right there, as well as track limits, so multiple reasons to keep it on the track. I know I was victim to losing a podium on track limits. Finally, into Blanchimont there, pretty straightforward. You definitely want to be on the inside of the corner, and then finally into the chicane. You definitely want to have the right side of the chicane there, the line going into it, and that will ensure that you get the best line through it, and that is your unofficial track guide to the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. A 142.019. Not a bad lap there from Uncle Ben's Rice. That actually feels like a really, really good lap. Potentially one of the best ones we are going to see as Haytite files in next in the Ferraris, about half a second behind. Not bad from Haytite, though he's definitely capable of better. We'll be looking for another strong performance from him. I know last week wasn't exactly the performance that he necessarily wanted, having had the second starting position, making contact with Will Ans on the start, and then dropping down the order from there. This kid is definitely more talented than that, and he's definitely capable of a big result, so definitely have your eyes on him. He's currently half a second behind. Filing in third, Niru Nix, about a second and 2/10 behind his Renault teammate of Uncle Ben's Rice, who currently sits on provisional pole. Capitano, who I mentioned earlier, about 2 seconds behind Ben's Rice, definitely capable of a better lap there. He's also started on the medium tires, and as you can see, the medium tires, definitely the compound. I don't want to say not being favored, but definitely a lot slower than those that are on the soft compound. In fact, from 5th to 6th, it's a full 10th back, so definitely some improvements to be made there between Noganator and Capitano. But I tell you what, that is kind of alarming. I don't want to say starting on the mediums could be the wrong choice, but definitely not one that I would make, as we see Hightower come through Radeon now. The Mercedes team, they've done pretty well over the past couple weeks, been relatively quiet. However, they are getting the results to move them up even further into the constructors' standings, which, speaking of that, let's go over that right now. Williams still has the top spot. However, they are in very, very hot water behind, with the AlphaTauri team lurking behind them at only 6 points down at 235 to the Williams team 241. In third, the Ferrari have dropped to third, actually being overtaken by AlphaTauri last week. They sit 40 points behind. Renault staying comfortable in fourth at 74 points behind. Definitely going to be looking for a big result this weekend. In fifth, we got the Racing Point team, 92 points behind in fifth. They're in need of a good result as well, with Soy Loco and Detail both being two drivers that are capable of good results. We'll have to see what they can put in. Behind them, Mercedes making the jump up to sixth at 104 points behind. They've actually got themselves a decently comfortable little gap back to Alfa Romeo, which have lost the seventh spot. They're now sitting 117 points behind. Haas close behind to Alfa Romeo as well. They're down 123 points in eighth, and then Red Bull and McLaren 159 and 192 down respectfully. And you have to wonder what the difference is with Chief Braids actually being replaced by JST at this point in time, what that difference is going to be now that Chief Braids has stepped up into this full-time McLaren ride. Domingos was a heck of a driver, I'll say that myself, but you can see in his recent races and just from how he's been communicating in the Discord, it definitely seems like his confidence has been down. And we'll have to see how well of a replacement JST will turn out to be. Now, JST, I think, has a lot of talent, but still has yet to have that, what's the word I'm looking for, experience coming into Division 2. He's only ran a couple of races, however, currently finds himself 11th, not a terrible place to be at the moment, though. He's definitely going to want to improve that, and he's on the medium tires as well, hanging around that +2 second mark as the mediums are finding themselves in. However, I will say, currently the highest driver, that's an interesting way to put it, currently the fastest driver on the medium tires, Forza Juve, who's about just under a second and a half behind our leader of Uncle Ben's Rice, who at the moment still has control of provisional pole. Haytite hasn't improved his lap. Murfancelli has, however, jumped up into third, now teetering on 6/10 of a second behind, and then the gap gets a little bit further out behind that. Niru Nix in that Renault machine still 1.2 seconds behind his Renault teammate of Uncle Ben's Race, and Niru Nix on his outlap. I will say, it's been a bit of a challenge for this Renault team last week in particular. Both Niru Nix and Uncle Ben's Rice did not have the weekend that they were hoping for, and now they find themselves in a bit of a hole, actually, as they're 74 points down off the leaders of Williams, which this is definitely a team with the potential to make their way into the top 3, maybe even take the top spot if all goes according to plan. But I tell you what, that team of Monkey Mafia and Saffron City not looking to slow down anytime soon. Definitely been one of the more consistent teams on the grid, with even teams like AlphaTauri, Ferrari, and Renault all having their days. Williams has seemed like that one team that just hasn't had everything go wrong for them, at least once this season. They've definitely seemed the most consistent, and we'll have to keep an eye on them. As we see the Red Bull of the Noganator, who, I tell you what, the Red Bull team needs a good result. They definitely want to break into triple digits this week, as we are in week 6 out of, was it 12? We're about halfway through, I know that much as well. As I'm getting notifications from other divisions. Let me just check the schedule. I should know this off the top of my head. You'd think I would. So yeah, this is week 6 of 12, so this being the official halfway point to the season. Our next 3 tracks happen to be Baku, Australia, and Brazil. An interesting 3 tracks to be next on schedule. Australia, I think, is going to be the biggest I'd say wrench thrown into the plans of some of these teams, as Australia, usually that race at the beginning of the year where you could just say, okay, this is what we're doing, this was kind of a slouch weekend, as some teams would say, definitely not the best that we were capable of. Now that it's in the middle of the season, now that it's still a very, very complicated track, Australia, I'm excited to see how that's going to play out, as that could be a real mix-up in our standings here. As we see the Alfa Romeo of grumpy old Catman has made his way up into 5th place. I will say, this Alfa Romeo team definitely capable of results. The fact that they sit so far behind in the constructor standings is a little bit alarming and surprising to me as well, as both these drivers definitely have the potential to do great things. I know last week was definitely not the week they wanted, as a bit of an incident, only about 4 laps in to last race, which we will put on screen right now, the replay. Definitely not what they wanted last week in Russia. Definitely has hindered their progress in the division. However, I will say they have a pair of talented drivers, although grumpy old Catman, I believe, isn't full-time. Again, I should know these things on standby. Humble Hippo and Murphin Silly are the 2 full-time drivers. Grumpy old Catman has stepped in for Humble Hippo this week. But either way, still some very talented drivers on this Alfa Romeo team, and I will be anxious to see how they stack up to the rest of the field. It looks like Detail has moved his way up into 5th, a very solid showing so far from that BWT Racing Point team. They've got both their drivers in the top 10. That's a very, very solid start, I'll say that much. And Will Ans, currently our championship leader, still has yet to make a timed lap. I will say this is definitely the best chance he's going to get to do so. He's got, I don't want to say a clear track in front of him, but he's definitely got a clear track behind him on his outlap. Definitely kind of what you want, I'd say. And I mean, you'd hope that the Noganator, who I think that is in front of him, that is the Noganator, is going to move out of Will Ans' way, as Will Ans. Well, I mean, he's on his outlap, so it's not that much of a problem. But Noganator, 5 laps on those soft tires. You'd have to believe not only that he's in the top 10 at the moment, although we're not sure how long that's going to last, as Will Ans still has yet to make his time lap, as well as ZGS, so still some opportunity for some shuffling about in the top 10. We'll have to see how that plays out, because remember, you start on what tires you qualify with, unless it's a rained race. So that'll be very interesting to see how Noganator's strategy will plan up if he manages to qualify in the top 10, what his strategy is going to be going into the race. So only really the top 3 on the grid, all within a second of each other. Niru Nix teetering on the edge by less than a tenth of a second. Monkey Mafia has just made the jump up into 5th. That's a very solid result there from Monkey Mafia. Nicely done from him. Will Ans making his way into the chicane right now. We'll have to see what he's capable of. I spoke to Will Ans yesterday in the F2 race as we were doing said F2 race. We were in the party, and he feels really confident with this track in the rain. He said in the dry. Oh, what's happened to Saffron? Saffron just gone off. What's happened to Saffron? Can we go on board with the McLaren that's behind him? Has Saffron City binned it going into the pit lane? He may have done just that. Because that's Ray 46. That's gone right by, and yeah, look at that. Saffron City has completely done in going into the pit lane. You'd have to wonder if he just kind of hit the grass there or something. Looks like ZGS also didn't really get a good chance to complete a solid timed lap as well because of that. You see, he was slowed down there going into the chicane, and there goes Will Ans. He's invalidated his first timed lap. He's going to have to get around the circuit very quickly. He's only going to have one more chance to make that timed lap. Yeah, as you know, it's nearly a 2-second lap around the track. He's only got 3 minutes left in the session. He's going to have to absolutely gun it to get back to the line and put in a timed lap, because I tell you what, P20 is not where our championship leader wants to start. And but as I was saying before, Will Ans definitely prefers this track in the rain over the dry, which is a very... Oh, goodness me! Wow, okay. Which is definitely a valuable quality to have. Will Ans very much struggling with this car at the moment as he exits Stavelot there. Wow, and that is only a little alarming. And now his tires are probably red hot as well. He's going to have absolutely no grip on this compound at the moment with his tires being that hot. We'll have to see how he manages. And yeah, he has lost, he's kind of braked really heavy there. Oh, and he's hit the entrance to the pit lane as well. Goodness me, Will Ans hasn't completed the timed lap. He's going to have to go into the pits, replace his front wing now. I don't think he's going to have time to complete the timed lap, ladies and gentlemen, or to even start one. Will Ans is going to be qualified P20 to start this race. Absolutely unbelievable stuff. And that, I must say, I did not see coming. As now Benz Rice and Haytite, currently provisional pole and provisional second place, starting their outlaps. Haytite's going to be the next to the line to start his. We'll have to see what he's capable of. He's put on a fresh set of the soft compounds, now going into La Source. Let's see how... wow, he takes a bit of a wider entrance than I would have expected. Usually some drivers will go right along the curbing going into the corner. Maybe he got a little bit slow on exits. We'll have to see how that plays in. As now he heads into Al Rouge, and that's Radion, actually. Maybe a little bit slow through Radion there. It didn't look like he was going full out through it. Man, I don't think this is going to be the lap that Haytite is looking for here. Let's see what it says when we cross the line. And definitely not the fastest time through Sector 1. Wow, and that is just quite alarming to say the least. And yeah, it doesn't even look like Will Ans is going to make an attempt to make a time lap here. He's going to be starting at the back of the grid, which, you know, might actually be somewhat of a blessing in disguise. I tell you what, as you saw earlier, he got a little bit loose on exits of Malmedy and invalidated his lap time, and then through Campus and Stavelot was really struggling with the car, nearly lost it, nearly binned it as well. And then coming out of chicane, going into the pit lane, also had a big lockup, and then smacked the wall on entrance to it. As you know, that entrance into pit lane is pretty much a 90-degree corner. As Haytite, I will say, sets a purple Sector 2. However, Murfancelli has jumped up into second place, still half a second behind provisional pole of Uncle Ben's Rice. I tell you what, Ben's Rice is in a very, very comfortable lap here. And Will Ans is telling me, according to what he's just put in the into my DMs in Discord, he's invalidated this and next lap going through Pujon. Wow, that is interesting how you could have invalidated this and next lap going through that section of the track. Haytite actually has a brilliant lap, now shaves the gap down to with only 0.2 of a second. Murfancelli next up to bat has 0.5 of a second back on provisional pole. Next to the line, I believe, is going to be the Red Bull of the Noganator, who has invalidated his time. Ray 46 taking his merry time through there. I believe the next up could be actually Niru Nix. No, it is going to be Ben's Rice, so we'll have to see. Never mind, Ben's Rice has invalidated his time. Murfancelli has gone off somewhere. potentially not gone off, but it's just, I don't know, that's a bit wacky to me. Hightower is going to be next to the line. And Hightower is in need of a good lap here. He's on those fresh, soft compound. Across the curbing, maybe got a little bit wide on exit, and he's going to jump up to 14th. Not the lap that he wanted, though a lap that he will take. Next up is Grumpy Old Catman, one of the best usernames in Division 2, maybe the whole Midwest F1 League, I will say. Maybe a little bit loose on exit there of the chicane. It's going to put him up to 6th. What a lap from Grumpy Old Catman. So 3rd and 6th at the moment for the Ferrari team. Next in line is going to be J-Steve, who's going to be entering the pits. Behind him, Adaltonian, who's already completed his lap. And the only one next to complete a lap is going to be Ray46, who's already invalidated. So you can go ahead and say, oh, I make Soy Loco, actually, who not on a flying lap here. So you can go ahead and chalk it up. Uncle Ben's Rice taking pole position, and then Hey-Tai Gaming, his 2nd consecutive P2 here in Division 2. Absolutely wonderful stuff from him, I will say. Murphinselli, another solid quality result from him. Soy Loco up into 4th, which I believe is the highest qualifying result for the BWT Racing Point team this season. Very nicely done. Capitano doing a very nice job for that AlphaTauri team, who I will tell you what, has a mountain to climb today, with Will Hans qualifying in P20 after apparently getting both in this and next lap invalidated going through Puhan. Very, very interesting stuff there. But overall, another solid result from Uncle Ben's Rice, but he's going to have a lot of defending to do. Can we actually see where the next, how the grid is lined up? I'd actually like to see that. Yeah, and it looks like the better position is going to have the left side of the track. No, he's going to have the right side, actually. So our final qualifying results from this session here in Spa-Francorchamps. Uncle Ben's Rice on pole. Hey-Tai Gaming, another solid result for him. He starts 2nd. Murphinselli 3rd. Soy Loco 4th. Capitano 5th. Grumpy Old in 6th. Nero Nixon 7th. Monkey Mafia 8th. Detail in 9th. JST 10th. 11th CGS. 13th is Forza 12th is Forza Juve. 13th is Adaltonian. 14th Hightower. 15th Noganeers. 16th Ray 46. 17th Spooled Up. 18th Pork Chops. 19th Saffron City. And rounding out the field in 20th without a time is Will Ends. And so the 2-minute mark has elapsed now. Or is just the rule before Monkey Mafia? Could be both. Yeah, the rule is Monkey Mafia, so nicely done from everybody. No invalidating no invalidation of the timer rule. 10 seconds to go until race time. And so here we are in Spa, starting the formation lap. I think I'm definitely going to be looking out for Hey-Tai here on the start. I don't want to say he has a better line, though. If he takes it properly, he could actually come out on the clean end of this start. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I will say he's got bags of pace. He has the potential to pull together a solid result here, but we'll have to see how he can potentially get around Ben's Rice on the start, as Ben's Rice is not going to let him off that easy. Another driver I'm going to be looking at is Capitano. Last week finished 2nd place, currently starting in 5th. He's in a pretty good spot to make some moves up onto the podium again this week. He's got Soy Loco and Hightower, Soy Loco and Murphinselli in his way, so it's going to be tricky, but I think he can pull it off. Behind him, Monkey Mafia starting in 8th, I guess getting his wheel fixed, and he's back to racing yet again after taking another short break last week. I'll definitely have to see how he can perform. JST in the McLaren and his teammate ZGS back there 10th and 11th. Not a bad result from the McLaren team, actually. Not terrible whatsoever, if I'm going to be completely honest. Hightower back there in 14th. Noganator and Ray, the two Red Bulls, 15th and 16th on row 8. row 9 of Pork Chops and Saffron City. I tell you what, Saffron City, a really fast driver. Interesting how he is starting so far back, as well as Will Ans, who apparently has been bumped up to 19th, as he's got Spoolendub in front of him. Look at the tires. So it looks like the better half of the 11th through 20th. So basically half the field on softs, half the field on mediums. Pretty much every driver from 11th to 20th back, other than Noganator, has started on the medium tires. Very, I'd say, polarized effects here that Spa-Francorchamps has had on these drivers. I wonder how Spoolendub's actually gotten into 20th. I must have missed something, as that's interesting. So Ben's Rice on pole. Hay-Tight behind him, Murfancelli. I tell you what, Murfancelli is definitely going to be looking, he's going to be aggressive for a solid result this week after last week, not necessarily being the result he wanted after getting into it with his teammate of Humble Hippo in the rainy Russia race. Soy Loco there in 4th. Now he's in a very good spot to do some damage in favor of that BWT Racing Point team. We'll have to see how he manages here, as he's in a very, very good spot of the grid to do just that. And does nobody have a good camera angle here? Please. You guys are actually killing me here. This is terrible. Who's giving me these camera angles? Here we go. Lights are coming on here. It's lights out and away we go here in Spa. I tell you what, it's a very even start between Hay-Tight and Uncle Ben's Rice as they head into La Source. Behind them, Soy Loco's got the outside of Murfancelli. They make contact just a little bit behind him. It seems to have gone all cleanly. Maybe a driver gone a little bit wide there. I think that is the Mercedes of Hightower, and we do have Saffron City has retired from the session. He's back there with Pork Chops in a big, big pile up here between not only Pork Chops, not only Saffron City, but also Will Ans. And a full-on safety car on lap 1 of the race. Pork Chops has picked up a penalty, which I believe is to be 5 seconds for a serious collision. Definitely not the start to this race, and you'd have to wonder how aggressive Will Ans was on the start. After he did start in 20th, I tell you what, potentially starting towards the back of the field would have been the better choice, especially if something like that was to happen. However, yeah, he's come out in a very bad spot, and not only he's missing the end plate on his right side, but he is still back there in 19th, and I wonder if Pork Chops, I mean, he's probably going to have to come in and get that 5 second taken care of, although it doesn't appear that he has any wing damage. So that is going to be interesting for sure. And if we look at the, can we look at position change here? And it looks like Hay-Tight must have made that overtake on Ben's Rice. So Hay-Tight Gaming has the lead, is going to lead lap 1. Ben's Rice right behind him. Murfancelli stays 3rd, Soy Loco stays 4th. Grumpy Old makes the overtake on Capitano to go into 5th. Niru and Monkey stay 7th and 8th. Forza Juve making up 3 spots, so a good start from him as well as Adaltonian. Detail, JST, and ZGS all losing 2 spots. Ray 46 gaining 2, Noganator stays the same. Spoolin making up 4 after starting 20th. And Saffron City having quite possibly one of the shortest runs of his career, shortest drives. DNF on lap 1, coming out of corner 1 here at Spa, and we're going to take a look at that replay right now. I mean, honestly, I didn't really see what happened. I saw the Mercedes of Hightower get a little bit wide on exit of La Source, as we have a group of drivers coming in now. I saw a couple drivers going wide, Hightower being one of them, and I just wonder how that's all transpired. But definitely not the result that Saffron and the Williams team in general wanted to have, as I tell you what, they are definitely in the hot seat this week. From that AlphaTauri team, the AlphaTauri team, by the way, currently 17th and 19th. Question mark. Yep, that's correct. Wow. So a bit of a crazy start already. Capitano came in. I wonder, did he have wing damage? I I definitely didn't spot any when he was on his way in. On the lap coming to the safety car, I did not spot any damage on Capitano's car, though he did lose a spot. As I believe that's the third time Clogmonger has gone and pinged everyone. I wonder how the start to the other divisions has gone on. Division 4 chat has pinged everyone. So very interesting start to the race. Let's go on and check in on Division 1 and see how they're doing for maybe a lap here. Oh, this is going to be a long recording, isn't it, for the to get the Division 1 race in.
And the dial-up internet. But all that's in the past, and we're in the present right now.
To the lights.
Are you taking it away or am I?
You are.
Oh, I am. We'll get on board with Hash here and see what Hash can do going into turn 1. Everyone seems to get off fairly well. I'm getting a weird little lobby glitch. Random Serious looking at the inside line to T-Ash. It looks like he actually loses a little bit of his front end plate. And yeah, some major wing damage there. I'm not sure whose that is. I'll get on board with Hash, see what he can do falling in behind T-Ash and an early on VSC. Dampens.
So I saw some carbon fibre up in the air. I would guess it was from the McLaren towards the back of Chief Braids, but that would be very optimistic of me to believe I could see that. But I'll have a quick look at his wing.
So unfortunately, right as
this
race was about to start, we got some we got a couple of lobby glitches for my on the left side of my screen there, so I wasn't actually able to tell who was making overtakes and whatnot. But there you go, we see the Midwest F1 safety cars in the chat. Good to see.
No, it's not Chief Braids. Can't quite tell. Kate Thomas has made a good start. Already up to 15th.
We're back. Green Racing Mayhem, you're getting a really bad restart here. Oh, he was the one that lost. He's the BWT that lost his right end plate. The Racing Point now struggling for pace, losing a position with each turn as it seems. He's dropped back already to 12th place, not what you want to see. As well as Random Series, the other BWT, losing some major positions. So this is massive for the Williams, missing out on one of their second driver, and Kenny. Pup Digital is doing fairly well, and the team closest to them have lost some major positions off the restart. Smith Pell now trying to work on Random Series and see what positions he can take. T-Ash looking at the inside line of Yulmir going into turn 18, the first up the chicane, but can't get much done. He's going to have to slot in behind. JC Blackley looks to get real close to Mailmere, as Mailmere does lose another position, tries to redefend on the inside line, but can't fight it out, and actually he's into the pit.
So the safety car is coming in this lap. Hopefully I've given enough time to get a good shot of the Div 1 race that's going on. Looks like, look at this, Heitai is taking quite a gap here back to second place. I hope he knows that if you overtake that safety car, the field is going to get mega bunched up. And that is, going into the chicane is not exactly the place where you want to do just that. So it's going to be interesting to see as he now starts to back up the field just a little bit. I think we're going to go along with Soy Loco on this first lap here. Actually, you know, we'll go on with Murphy. He's going to have a good shot of the leaders. And yeah, Heightsight's going to really have to slow it down as you overtake that safety car. It's not going to be pretty. And here we go, back to Green Flag Racing, and it looks like quite the gap from third to fourth. And it looks like Benz Rice is going to keep it clean going into the corner. He's got a little bit wider of a line. Heightight's gotten a great launch and keeps the position for now, I will say. Very, very nicely done from him. I think I just saw Monkey Mafia maybe get a little bit loose coming out of La Source. Behind him, straight single file line as we go up into, that's Radion actually, and into the Kemmel Strait. Still yet to, DRS yet to be open, but it looks like Heightight has a pretty solid lead on Ben's Rice back there. I will say, though, Murphy starting to kind of stay in this little train of 3 cars as they now go down into Brussels. Benz Rice getting a little bit wide on exit of Malmedy. We'll have to see how well he takes this corner, and it looks like he's taking it a lot better than Haytite. I will say Benz Rice definitely looked to have a better corner there than Haytite, though the gap has stayed at pretty much 0.6 of a second this whole lap so far. We'll have to see if that stays consistent. But for now, Haytite has kept the lead. Behind him, Soy Loco, 0.7 of a second behind Murphinselli. Behind him even further, Grumpy Old Catman. ZGS picking up the time penalty, and it looks like Adel Tony and Forza Juve side by side here. And if finally Forza Juve looks to have gotten the position, did somehow make contact with Adel Tony, and he's fallen just a little bit behind. ZGS picked up that time penalty for what I believe was going a little bit wide in Puhan. But then obviously the battle came along and we kind of missed what happened there. A little bit further back, Noganator making the pass on his teammate of Ray 46. I think Ray 46 still in the medium compound as well. So the Noganator, who started on the soft compound, I think pretty much just to be on the opposite strategy of his teammate as to not have any problems there, has gone and made the overtake, so hopefully we'll see him make a couple more as well, as they're still in the bottom half of the field. Definitely like to get into what would be the normal point scoring positions. A little bit further up, it looks as if Niru Nix is going to make this move on Grumpy Old Catman, but even further up, Murphinselli still right behind Benz Rice. I will say, maybe taking Al Rouge just Radion just a little bit gingerly here, but now going down the Kemmel Straight, can he potentially make the overtake? And he's going to hang it in right there for the longest time. I don't think he's going to get it. However, side by side here, going into Lacombe, still, as they head into Malmedy, it's still side by side. Very good racing, this is indeed. And it looks like Grumpy Old Catman has the advantage as they go into Brussels. However, Niru Nix definitely looks to have the better line at the moment. Niru, did he maybe get a little bit loose going into the no-name corner? I'm not entirely sure, as he's now lost a little bit of ground to Grumpy Old Catman. Very solid battle that was indeed. Very nicely done from the both of them to keep that clean. Benz Rice still within striking distance of Haytite once they do get into the DRS zone, about half a second behind. Noganator's just picked up 3 seconds. That is definitely not what he wanted, as he was making some pretty solid progress as well. Going up through the field, making the overtake on his teammate Ray, still decently close behind ZGS. Going to be interesting to see how that plays out as the midfield heads through Stavelot. Monkey Mafia still trying to find his way onto Niru Nix. It's only 0.2 of a second the gap as they head into the chicane. Ooh, Monkey Mafia definitely might have the better line on exits. I kind of lied to you there. Niru Nix had a much better line to exit, putting a little bit of a gap. DRS is going to be enabled this lap, so we're going to go back up to this battle for the lead. Benz Rice, half a second behind Murphinselli. Behind Haytite. Murphinselli about 1.2 seconds behind second place of Uncle Benz Rice. DRS open this lap. Haytite's going to move to the left side of the circuit, trying to break the slipstream. Now, if he has that inside line going into Lacombe, it's going to be very hard for Benz Rice to make an overtake. Big pile up back there, and that looks like, is it Detail that's gone off? Is it Capitano? Someone has gone off there. Going through the Kemmel Straight, and it might be Adel Tonian, and definitely looks to be Adel Tonian. Meanwhile, battle for the lead that I'm completely missing. It's side by side going through Brussels into the no-name corner. It's still side by side. First and second place battling it out. Who's going to get the better? And it looks like it's still side by side. Going down into Puhan. Who's it going to be? Haytite definitely not getting the line into the corner that he wanted. He tried so hard to fend off Uncle Benz Rice, but Uncle Benz Rice making some brilliant moves there, getting the better of Haytite, keeping it decently clean as well. Benz Rice definitely did not have the line that he wanted going through that section of the track as well, and Benz Rice fully deserved to have that overtake and the lead. Very, very brilliantly done there, and that pretty much opens the door as well for Murphinselli to potentially get in on this battle for the lead. I will say the gap to the leader still within 1 second for the top 3. It's going to be very close. We could see even more overtaking here. And look at this, Murphinselli completely missed his braking point. Had to go very, very wide on entry to the chicane. losing so much time back to Haytite, nearly a second gap back there, and now the pit window is open for the soft tires to move on to the mediums. It's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. Looks like Will Ans has made the move on Capitano, and Capitano moves down the order just a little bit. Niru Nix has the potential to make a move on Grumpy Old Catman, and it looks like now Benz Rice up there in first has that gap to over a second. I don't think Haytite has the DRS. Oh, he does have the DRS, so still within striking distance here. Meanwhile, here comes Soy Loco in fourth, within 0.3 of a second on Murphinstille for that third spot. It's going to be very close, and wow, he does not get the exit to Malmedy that he wants, and Soy Loco picking up the 3-second time penalty. Very, very dangerous position to be picking that up in. However, I will say he's got 3.5 seconds back on Grumpy Old Catman. That's a Haas that's gone off, and that is Spoolendub, who's gone around pretty much on entry to Malmedy. Doesn't look to have any wing damage, though I'll have to somehow get a replay of that because I just didn't see how that happened. So you figure Pork Chops maybe had a good replay of that, as they were pretty much side by side. I'll have to figure that out in post-production. Meanwhile, here comes Soy Loco still right behind Murphinstille as we drop a little bit further back. Monkey Mafia is still trying to make a move. Oh, what's this? That's Forza Juve that's gone off in a very, very dangerous part of the track. In front of pretty much everybody on the circuit. In comes Will Ans, nearly running into the back of Forza Juve in that Mercedes team. I will say Will Ans definitely dodged a bullet there, and he also dodged a bullet on exit of campus, or exit of Stabalot rather, into not hitting the barrier as him and Detail both went wide, and it looks like Haytite has come in for the soft compound. Soy Loco and Murphinstille and our leader, Uncle Ben's Rice, all staying out on the soft compound. Monkey Mafia inherits fourth position, and it's going to be now a battle to see who can make the softs the longest, who can have a good pit stop as we go into the pits. Haytite, lots of drivers coming in. Haytite's came in, Grumpy Old Catman's came in, Niru Nix has came in. Lots of shuffling about in the pack now as we go up the order. Soy Loco within striking distance on Murphinstille. I tell you what, it looks like Soy Loco has Murphinstille beaten for pace on the straight line, although I will say Murphinstille looks to be handling the track just so much better than Soy Loco at the moment. Soy just doesn't look like he's at to grips with the circuit just yet. As you can see, didn't really get the line potentially going through Brussels that he wanted. Maybe got a little bit wheel spin going into the no-name curve. Wow, and so absolute, I don't want to say drama, but it's going to be interesting to see how these tire strategies are going to play out. The two McLarens of JST and ZGS moving up into 5th and 6th. JST has fit the softs, ZGS has fit the mediums. It's going to be wild to see how that plays out, although I will say ZGS has the 3-second time penalty. Man, now this is an absolute wrench thrown into the plans of Haytite Niru Nix. And Grumpy Old Catman for that matter as well. It's going to be interesting to see who pits this lap and who doesn't, potentially. You'd have to believe that Murphinstille doesn't box this lap. We'll have to see if Uncle Ben's Rice does, as it appears Ray 46 picks up 3 seconds, so Uncle Ben's Rice doesn't come in, Murphinstille doesn't come in, Soy Loco is. Monkey Mafia will have to see what he does, and is he going to take the sharp turn into the pits? Yes, he will. Behind him, here's JST. Now, JST and what appears to be ZGS and everyone behind him also staying out one more lap. And it looks like JST has set his pit window to this lap, so will he potentially be on the same strategy as Ben's Rice and Murphinstille? That could be an absolute blessing for these three drivers, particularly JST, who, number one, is capable of a good result, but number two, needs a good result, and that McLaren team in general. That is going to be absolutely wild to see. Meanwhile, here's Ray 46. Can he potentially make a move on ZGS going into Lacombe? It's going to be close. Both the drivers on the medium tires. Ray 46 has the inside, still side by side, clean at the moment. Looks like ZGS has the position. Very cleanly done on letting ZGS have room now into Brussels. This is going to be interesting because it's a very oversteery corner. I will say Ray 46 has a mega lockup going into it. Into the no-name curve, still side by side. And it looks like ZGS is finally just going to back off and kind of let Ray 46 have the position. I don't know if that was planned or not, as we see Noganator goes plenty wide there. up to the leaders of Benz Rice and Murphy. I will say a very, very solid battle between Benz Rice and Haytai earlier. We'll have to see what happens now between the two drivers. I wonder how many drivers still have yet to come in as we look at the. Look at the tires, please. So most of the field, it seems, has made that stop. Murph and Sally also coming in. Hightower has gone off. Are we going to have a full safety car? And will that potential... Oh, wow. And yeah, that is definitely in the middle of the circuit. We're surely going to have a safety car. And now, Benz Rice and Murph and Sally have just ate a bullet. Unbelievable. Ray 46 looks like he's going to take second place. Benz Rice looks like he's going to keep the lead on the medium tires. I tell you what, Uncle Benz Rice and Murph and Sully could not have had a worse time for that safety car to come out. Adaltonian has collided with Nero Nix and apparently gained a place. I can't say I've seen that before in the race director, but it has happened. So Ray 46 and ZGS, second and third, both started on the medium compound. Murph and Sally did lose position, though he's in a good spot, being on fresh mediums in fourth. Meanwhile, Will Ans and Capitano have cracked their way into the top five. Will Ans has fit the hard compound, so I don't figure he'll need to box for the rest of the race. Capitano still on the medium, so everybody that started on the medium still has to box. That accumulates 1, 2, 3, 4 drivers. Other than Pork Chops, I think Pork Chops boxed pretty early on, I think before the first safety car. Well, actually, during the first safety car, the safety car was on the first lap. So 1, 2, 3, 4 drivers on the medium compound that still have yet to box. So by that logic, Murph and Sully's going to move up into second. Will Ans is going to move up into third. Capitano behind him, though he still needs to box. So Haytite is going to be right up there once again. And I tell you what, you have to wonder how that's played out for Haytite. I'm sure he would have rathered to kind of keep racing for a little bit. That was an interesting time for the safety car to come out, as Hightower definitely not the end to the race that he wanted, though I will say this is an absolute race here. ZGS boxing now under the second lap of the safety car. You have to figure, did he just simply not have the time? Behind him comes in Will, is that Will Ans? Why has Will Ans boxed again? He's on the hard compound, he doesn't need to box. Why has Will Ans gone and boxed? That comes as an utter surprise. A lot of drivers boxing as well. In comes Soy Loco. Does Will Ans figure he could probably make the rest of the race on the medium tires? I bet you he could. Halfway through the race, 2 safety cars. I don't think anyone on the medium tires that have already boxed will need to again. That being Haytite, Soy Loco, Niru Nix. Ray 46 and Capitano still probably have yet to box. I don't see how they can last another 10 laps on this compound. That is going to shake things up drastically. Haytite will be at the end of his tire run, though should still be good to go, I think, on the medium compounds. You'd think I would have taken notes prior to the race on how the tires would be, though I have not. Wow, so absolute drama unfolding here. Shaping up to be yet another amazing race here in Division 2. I tell you what, it was no secret that we were going to have a great season after that showcase race in Austria a week prior. This has been such an exciting season so far, and the best part is we're only halfway through. Still everything to play for. Wow, this is going to be something special. So I tell you what, you still have to believe that Ray 46 not in a good spot here, as he will surely have to box at least one more time. Murfincelli behind him in a very, very good spot to take second place. Capitano has 3 seconds and will surely need to box again. Haytite in 5th at the moment. In a very, very good spot to inherit 2 positions potentially, though he's going to need to have a very good start. A very good launch off the end of the safety car. Wow, this is going to be absolutely mega. A couple drivers fitting the softs, that being... Oh, Pork Chops has come in again? Why is Pork Chops pit? Well, Forza Juve on the hards, Spoolendub on the hards, Pork Chops. Is that fresh hards now? Did he box for hards yet again? Did he just put on a fresh set of hards and, no, he's going to box for softs. An interesting choice here, I will say. I still have to wonder what Will Ans's thought process was of boxing for the, on decently fresh, hard tires. Going to the mediums, I mean, he can definitely make the mediums last a long way, but I don't know. That is a big toss-up in the strategy call there, I will say. Definitely going to have to wait and see how that one plays out. So I hope I can somewhere find a replay of what's happened to Hightower or something, because that was just a very, very sudden retirement to be had, and on exit of Stavelot as well. You wonder, did he clip maybe the outside wall and run into someone? Because he was dead center in the middle of the track. Did he maybe get tapped into the barrier on exit of Stavelot and just kind of floated into the middle of the track? I will say, that is completely unprecedented there. That is completely thrown a mix into everyone's plans. Safety car surely going to be in this lap. And yep, that is going to be the case. So I think I'm going to go along with Haytite on this lap of the safety car. He's sitting in 5th position currently now. Murfincelli's the only driver. Oh, Benz Rice is on a lap old medium as well. So Benz Rice is probably going to have a good start here. Ray 46 is going to be really a sitting duck on this start. Back to Murfincelli, who's on those fresh medium tires, as well as Capitano. Haytite, not completely fresh, but still relatively. So this is going to be mega. I think Haytite definitely could make some moves here. Soy Loco as well. Going through the chicane. Back to green flag racing. Now, I notice already Murfincelli tried to jump out of the slipstream, maybe get a move here. He's going to be looking to get a good line onto Ray into La Source. Ray took a very, very good line, and Murfincelli held up behind him. Murfincelli's going to have to work really, really hard to make that overtake happen. Behind him, it looks like Haytite hasn't made the move on Capitano. Down through the grid, here comes Will Ans. He's going to have to try to make the move on ZGS, though ZGS on those fresh, soft tires. Going to be very, very hard to do. ZGS not getting the line through Radeon. My game severely glitching there. Here comes Will Ans to the side of ZGS. Into Lacombe. Closely contested there, and it looks like, as well, Ray 46 has held the position as well. Will Ans did make the overtake on ZGS and has made it stick for the most part. Now here's Murfincelli and Ray 46 going through the no-name corner, right on the gearbox of Ray 46 as they head down into Puhan. So Ray 46 and Capitano still have the 3-second time penalties. Now, they would really hope to not make any more penalties, as that would set them back even further down the grid, which is definitely not what they need. Here comes Capitano now on the gearbox of Murfincelli. This could be a very close battle here. This is another one. Oh, and there goes Murfincelli, picking up 3 seconds of time penalties. That is definitely not what he needed. So Haytite definitely in a very, very good spot here to potentially move up into that third, potentially second spot. assuming he doesn't pick up any more time penalties. Here's Soy Loco right on the gearbox of Murfancelli. Capitano tries to switch to the inside. Is he going to get the spot on Murfancelli with the older medium tires? It's going to be side by side going into La Source. Oh, this is going to be a close one as well. Murfancelli taking up all of the curbing that he possibly can. I just saw something else coming through the race director. I'm not sure what it could be. Probably DRS being enabled. I could have swore it was Murfancelli potentially picking up a time penalty for taking up most of the curbing going into La Source. Hasn't played out that way, though this is going to get interesting here. And I think DRS is going to be actually open next lap, as seeing as nobody's opened it. Haytight in a very, very competitive spot here. Now, I will say Haytight really needs to keep this one clean, as Will Ans in detail gets into a detail, has gotten a big hit into ZGS. Huge accident here in the middle of Lacombe. And I could have swore Detail almost caught air coming off that jump. Now here's Murfancelli side by side with Ray 46 heading into Puhan. Oh, and that's an absolute heartbreaker there for Detail, who was having such a good race. Meanwhile, Capitano has moved his way up into that spot. It's a 4-car battle for position here. Soy Loco not that far behind. Next up is Haytight. So Haytight in a very, very good spot here, not having penalties. I could have sworn that was Will Ans. That was actually El Capitano who I was talking about. Another yellow flag in Sector 2. Doesn't look to be anything serious. Haytight right on the gearbox of Ray 46. Has to back out of the overtake going into Blanchimont. 0.2 of a second behind. Very, very close. It looks like Will Ans and Noganair side by side going through Blanchimont. It's, I think he could have been actually maybe pushed out of the position there. Ray 46 drops back to 6. Big, big contact here. Ray 46. It's JST as well. Will Ans probably going to inherit at least 2 spots here. Ray 46. A heartbreaker from him. A heartbreaker for JST as well, who not only was having a very good race going, but had absolutely nowhere to go when Ray 46 spun in front of him, and now it's side by side. Grumpy Old Catman just completely cuts off Radion. Was this 8 Altonian? It's nearly 4 wide going through the Kemmel Straight. What is this? Wow, what an absolutely lovely battle here in the midfield. 3 wide going into Lacombs. It's still 3 wide. Contact definitely going to be made. 3 drivers have completely... Oh, what? Oh, okay, well, all right. Spool and Dub has just gone completely up onto the wheels there of 8 Altonian. 3 wide going into Lacombe, and you have to wonder, I tell you what, that was definitely the outcome that was going to happen. That was the worst kept secret in the world. Absolute drama going on here. There was nearly 4 wide between 8 Altonian, Spoolin, Grumpy Old Catman, and I believe Pork Chops could have been in on it as well. That was an absolute battle for position there as they were going through Radion. I think it was 8 Altonian had cut the corner really. So it nearly became 4 wide, and they all just had to kind of force themselves onto one another to get back on track. But wow, absolute drama unfolding here. Meanwhile, Haytight still in a position to take this second spot. He is certainly within striking distance on both Murfancelli and El Capitano. Now Murfancelli way out of reach of Uncle Ben's rice. About 6 seconds nearly, 5.5 rather. Soy Loco's next up in line. He has a great gap back on Noganator. Noganator, mind you, about to be overtaken by Will Ans going through Eau Rouge and then Radion. Will Ans right on the gearbox of Noganator, now side by side going into the Kemmel Straits. Now this is going to be a close one. Will Ans still has the position. Will Ans very clean overtake there on Noganator. Absolutely brilliantly done from him. I gotta say, Will Ans definitely going to be driver of the day. He's made up spots to P18 to P6 at the end of the day. It's going to be absolutely wild. Now here comes Haytight. Now he doesn't need to try excruciatingly hard to get this position. I mean, he really doesn't. He's got Capitano ahead of him. I will say as well, Capitano doesn't appear to be holding up Haytight. One thing I'm worried about, though, is Haytight has to keep his line. and keep careful, though he also has to push the paces to keep within that range on Murfancelli. And speaking of not making any mistakes, Haytite just made one, losing a lot of grip. I believe going into campus. Forza Juve picking up 3 seconds of time penalties. This one is going to be absolutely close. Noganator still within a decent amount of time there on Will Ans. Haytite on that, I'd say oldest medium tires, but that's not entirely true. Capitano in front of him is at 14 lap old. Murfancelli 6 lap old, so I think Murfancelli could potentially be safe. Capitano, probably not. I think Haytite is going to make that position, but here comes Forza Juve, and Nero nicks into La Source, rather. Forces Niru just a little bit wide. Maybe Niru actually just took kind of a wide line. No contact to be made. Nothing wrong about that, I will say. Meanwhile, here comes Haytite, edging towards the gearbox of Capitano as they go into Lacombe. Haytite is absolutely pushing as much pace as he can, trying as hard as he can to not make a mistake and get a time penalty. I'm not sure how many warnings he's on. I would only guess maybe one, or I think 2 is kind of a push right now, because we have seen absolutely little to no mistakes from Haytite. It's going to be a close one. Grumpy Old Catman pitting now. You have to wonder if he has a decent amount of damage or not. I'm still surprised that that little 3-car battle there, which I'm going to throw in the replay of now. I'm still kind of a little shocked how they haven't brought out a virtual safety car. Well, yeah, note to self to throw in that replay of that 3-wide battle into Lacombe that ended poorly for all of them. Capitano, what's happened to him? Spoolendubs just picked up 3 seconds. Capitano, I think maybe just had wheel spin, or either that or missed his braking point completely. Going into campus, opened the door for Haytite Gaming. Wide open. A little bit behind him, here's Forza Juve and Niru Nix. Now, these two have been battling for probably 2 or 3 laps now. It's been very, very closely contested. Soy Loco makes the overtake on Capitano. Capitano into the pits. Can we check on him? Does he have any wing damage here? That's the only thing I could think of that could potentially warn him. I mean, maybe either that or his tires could have fallen off the cliff. Yeah, he's going to put on the softs. Doesn't have wing damage, so he just thought it was the right time to make the move to the soft compound. I will say, that is a bit of a shocker. I don't know. I think he probably could have followed along under the safety car and boxed, but he chose not to. And definitely feeling the results of that. Yoganator still trying his best to fit in there, trying to get back up to Will Ans. Very close battle between these two, I'll say that much. Very nicely done. Forza Juve still trying to apply pressure to Niru Nix. This has been a good battle as well, nice and clean. Forza Juve on the newer hard compound, so you'd have to wonder if if the two tires are pretty much on the same level of pace at the moment, because neither one of them has had a really solid chance of overtaking. Will Ans has just picked up 3 seconds for multiple warnings, and I believe that was coming out of the no-name corner of turn 9, the corner after Brussels. That could play into a big factor here, though I will say, pretty much everyone behind him has penalties as well. Benz Rice and Haytite are the only 2 of 4 drivers in the field that do not have penalties. That is going to be something absolutely wild, this order. Well, I don't figure it's going to be that much of a shuffle, aside from Niru and Forza that have 5 and 6 seconds respectively, and I think JST's going to pick up a position on Spoolin, who has Spoolin has 13 seconds. Man, that is definitely not what he needs there. So Haytite definitely is trying to earn his positions as much as he possibly can. Which what is this? A random has apparently joined a lobby in that Div 3 or 4. Well, that's interesting. I can't say I have well, I can't say we've ever had that happen, other than a crash bash where we've had a random join the race. That is completely wild and interesting there. Forza Juve still trying to wear down Niru Nix. This has been a very good battle, these two. Noganator's just picked up 3 seconds. That moves him up to 6 seconds, so even more shuffling about, potentially. Haytite still trying to earn his position around Murfancelli. It's going to be a close one, I will say that much. A little bit further in the back, Forza Juve and Niru is still battling for that position. Closest battle on field still. Oh, what's this? We got a car off. That is ZGS that has gone off in Malmedy, and we have a virtual safety car. And yeah, he is. Wow, he's actually done in both left side tires. Wow, now that is unprecedented. So even more opportunities to get penalties. Now who's going to get 5 seconds for not obeying the virtual safety car? This is going to be very interesting here. Did Monkey Mafia just overtake? No, because Juve's gone in. Wow, that's an interesting choice there. Haytite's going to have to keep this one under Delta. He seems to be going pretty fast to keep under Delta here in the virtual safety car. It's going to be very close. DRS back enabled, no penalties to be had under the virtual safety car. However, here comes Haytite to the right side of Murfancelli going into Lacombs. Beautifully done there. Murfancelli's still right there. Wow, Haytite's done a brilliant job getting up to position. Very nicely done from him. Seems like Murfancelli's still open to the challenge here of getting that second spot back. This is currently the closest battle in the field, although it looks like Noganator might be trying to still make his way to the rear end of Will Ants. He's held it about a second for a while now. I feel like he's keeping very, very even with the pace of Will Ants. Only going to have 2 laps to go this time by. ZGS has left the session. Murfancelli trying to find his way back to Haytite here for the second, well, I say second spot, it's still going to be the third spot anyways. Yellow flag on sector 1. That is the racing point of both Detail and, oh, look at this, Grumpy Old Catman is going around as well. Detail, 5 seconds for severe collision with Grumpy Old. Wow, so interesting stuff there, as both of them were having good races as well, I will say. To this point in the day, the Racing Point team was having a very, very good race. Both drivers were holding themselves pretty consistent, I'll say that much. Now it looks like the answer to which team has had the best day is definitely going to be either Renault or Red Bull. Potentially AlphaTauri as well. They're not that bad either, I will say. 5th and 9th respectively. The Renault 1st and 7th. Going to be close to see who has the best day today. Yellow flag in Sector 2. That is Grumpy Old Catman. That's gone off over in Puton. Puhon? Puton? Puhon. Oh, I've done that. Oh, no. Noganator's gone off. Oh, a Noganator. Oh, goodness me. Nearly gets absolutely rear-ended by Capitano going on exit of Malmedy. Noganator, I will say, didn't seem to lose that many positions. We have a car off. Who is that? And that is the Alfa Romeo of Grumpy Old Catman, who I believe was probably just letting the back markers go around. As we are now starting the final lap of the Belgian Grand Prix here for Division 2. We'll have to see if Murfancelli can still potentially get back up to Haytite here for the spot. It's going to be a close race. Now, if we look at the tire lives, yeah, they're about even as well. Murfancelli 11 laps old, Haytite 13. So, still fresh tires there for Murfancelli. I think he probably could make an overtake happen if he really wanted to. Do I think he's going to push it? Probably not. I don't think right now what he needs is an accident, though I will say. Very nice drive from Murfancelli. And if we look at the final position changes, first through fourth has stayed exactly the same. Will Ans making up 14 positions. Forza Juve has just done the fastest lap of the race. He's gone and put on the softs. And that's probably exactly what he's boxed for as well, to put on the soft compound. And he's gone and he's done the fastest lap of the race. Nicely done from him. But here comes Murfancelli, still looking to get back at Haytight Gaming. Ooh, maybe gets a little bit loose there on exit of Brussels. Through the no-name curve, into Poulan. 0.4 of a second separate the two cars. Nearly 10 seconds separate first and second. .4 of a second still. It's going to be very, very close between these two drivers. Not that the position's going to matter because Murfancelli still has the time penalty, but it's going to be great to see a battle anyways. Soy Loco. Stop it. Don't tell me he's picked up another penalty at the end of the race. Oh, and that is absolute heartbreak for Soy Loco. But an absolute heart reborn here for Uncle Ben's Rice after the performance last week. Uncle Ben's Rice, what a way to redemption for Uncle Ben's Rice as he wins the Belgian Grand Prix. Absolutely wonderful stuff from him. Haytight, second place after the absolute heartbreak that he had last week. A great battle with Murfancelli results in Haytight finishing second, Murfancelli finishing third. Wonderful, wonderful battles. A great race indeed yet again. Niru Nix had an unserved time penalty. 5 seconds has been tacked on to him. But Ben's Rice taking the win. So pretty much first and second, and third for that matter. Wow. What a path to redemption for these three drivers. Absolutely unbelievable stuff. Wow. Absolutely unbelievable. I don't think any of these drivers finished in the top 10 last week either. Ben's Rice, not to be found. Haytight, not to be found. Murfancelli, not to be found. Wow. So the three drivers outside the top 10 this week are the three drivers on podium. In fact, if we look at the exact positions where they finished, Murfancelli in 19th, Haytight in 18th, Uncle Ben's Rice in 16th. Unbelievable. And I knew literally anyone could win this race. There goes Will Ann's driver of the day, deservedly so, after starting P18. I believe he finished P6. Or maybe P7, actually. Wonderful, wonderful job. That is absolutely incredible from these three drivers. Wonderfully done. An absolutely brilliant win, nonetheless, from Uncle Ben's Rice. Another a brilliant podium there for Haytight, and Murfancelli doing a great job keeping the consistency. Let's go over the final results. Uncle Ben's Rice taking the top spot, Haytight in second, Murfancelli third, Soy Loco fourth, Will Ann's making the comeback to fifth, Monkey Mafia 6th, Niru Nixon 7th, 8th is Capitano, 9th the Noganator, 10th Forza Juve, 11th Ray 46, 12th JST, 13th Spoolendub, 14th Adaltonian, 15th Pork Chops, 16th Detail, 17th Grumpy Old Catman, 18th ZGS, 19th is Hightower, and rounding up the field in 20th is Saffron City, and we will get to the interviews. Okay, so I am here with 2 out of the 3 podium finishers. I want to first off start by saying an absolutely brilliant path to redemption for all 3 of you. In fact, you want to know exactly, Uncle Ben's Rice, who won the race, finished 16th last week. Haytight, you finished 18th, and then Murfancelli, you finished 19th last week. 3 of you on the podium after that. That is an absolutely brilliant battle to redemption there. Murfancelli, I'm going to start with you. So a very, very solid drive from you. You had the time penalty there. Do you think that if you hadn't gotten it, you could probably be held in a little bit more?
Potentially. I was praying to God that Haytite got a penalty, but he didn't. One of my warnings was because I tried to miss Haytite, or I would have absolutely destroyed him going to the bus stop. Missed my breaking point completely and led to a warning. So, I mean, maybe if I didn't have that, we would have been in a better situation, but we'll take it.
Yeah, so I mean that's definitely a result that you'll want to take after last week, and I think your teammate unfortunately didn't have that good of a race either. That's just honestly, it's not been a perfect week for your team. However, it's been a very, very good one, as that is sure to gain even more progress in the Constructors' Championship. Next week we head to Baku, a track that can catch many by surprise, a track that is no lack of excitement. How do you feel going into that race?
I personally love Baku. I do. I've done a lot of laps around Baku, and I feel confident that I could probably finish again on the podium.
All right, well, thank you, sir. Great drive. Congratulations on the podium. Haytite, oh, man, I want to say last week, I think was one of the most heartbreaking races that we've seen. Just, you know, you started P2 and then had the unfortunate contact there with Will Ands. And one of your first races, I believe, if I'm to be corrected, that was your Div 2 debut as well for full time. And that just absolutely killed to see from a neutral perspective. And now you're back here in second place. A very, very good results. Tell me your thoughts after that.
Well, it's honestly relieving. You know, whenever you enter a new F1 league, you want to set goals for yourself. You know, for me, it's usually get top 5 and podium, then eventually a win. So getting a podium finally just kind of relieved some of that weight on my shoulders. And after last week, where it was a huge disappointment, it was at a track that I'm not really super strong at in terms of race pace. The rain also just made it even worse. And, you know, I just kind of moved on from that. I just kind of looked at it and was like, you know what, toss down the bin, you know, fresh mindset going into Spa, which is one of my better tracks, and as you saw, it came out really well. You know, started P2, finished P2, so can't really complain.
Absolutely, and you had that really good battle there with Ben's Rice for a solid couple laps as well. I tell you what, that was a very fun battle to watch. Do you think that you could start to challenge him a little bit more going into these next couple races?
I do think so. Some tracks I'm not best at, but I definitely saw that I could challenge him. And I believe that second safety car restart, I could have been challenging it more, but because where I kind of got spat out to the pit stop situation and how ahead of us and kind of got compressed a bit and just this all that about him. He's a very clean driver, but he's not afraid to sort of make an ambitious move and stay. So really enjoyed it, and I also read it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you both for joining me. If you guys actually want to go head over to the Div 1 stream now, I hear Crash has a very special announcement to make, so go ahead and head over to the Twitch, because it's actually very exciting that we all have put on. Very, very excited to bring that to you. But absolutely, congratulations on you guys' drive to redemption and to the drive to the podium. Absolutely brilliant done from all three of you as well. Ben's Rice unfortunately couldn't join us, but that's going to do it for me. Join us back again next week as we head to Baku, the track that actually F1's racing at this weekend. So yeah, we will see you then. Thank you for watching, and